Hello and welcome to Dad Made a Nerd. I'm Jay. This is my dad, Neil, and today we're talking about all things comic books, TV, movies, Thunderbolts, and maybe audio dramas. Let's get into it. Hey, Dad, how you doing?
I'm good. I've had a really good week. Quite listened and been engaging with different bits of comics and different bits this week. So actually got quite a few different bits to talk about, which is good. How are you? How are you, Jacob? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited to kind of rant away. We're going to think this episode is a bit more of a what we're into, what we're watching, kind of shorter episode, just kind of catching up, talking about what we're reading, what you guys should be reading, listening, all that kind of stuff.
And this
So
this week's been Star Wars Day. So earlier this week we had May the 4th, Star Wars Day. Did you celebrate doing anything Star Warsy this week, Jay?
I love May the 4th. It's such a fun day. I'm a big Star Wars fan, obviously, as you know, as you are. Um, but what can you do that's Star Wars related except watch Star Wars? It's a difficult one. I see, on TikTok and stuff, people doing these big Star Wars parties and things. I'm busy. All my friends have deadlines at the moment. I did, however, start watching their new show that they released on Disney Plus, Tales of the I was going to say Tales of the Jedi. That was the first one. It's Tales of Bounty Hunters or something like that. Just a 6-episode series, short 20-minute episodes in the Clone Wars animation style. These first 3 focus on Asajj Ventress, who was a almost Sith assassin for Count Dooku in the Clone Wars era. Fan favorite character, and it's about her after her death, funny enough. And then the next 3, which I'm yet to see, are about Cad Bane, who is a very popular bounty hunter who's had many scuffles with Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Bad Batch, and we did see him in live action at the end of Boba Fett. So that's quite exciting.
The fear is if we get onto you talking about the Clone Wars Day, this might be a 9-hour episode. So we've got
Yes, big
to, got
big
to
fan of
know
the
how much you're a fan of that.
It's great. Just watch the final 4 episodes of season 7. If you don't believe me, they're its own movie. It ties into Revenge of the Sith. Just go away and do that. I promise you, it's worth it. There's a reason that all the live action stuff is building off the Dave Filoni Clone Wars Rebels era of Star Wars. There, okay, that's all the Star Wars I'll talk about. Well, maybe I'll talk about Andor, but that's my rant about Clone Wars for now.
Should we
Yeah,
talk about
okay.
Andor now? Because I've seen most of series 1. I've not seen series 2. How much of series 2 have you watched?
Okay, so I'm a bit behind as of right now. Episodes 7, 8, and 9 have just come out. And it's only been going out for 3 weeks. So that's a lot of episodes. To say they're all like an hour long each. And it's not like your typical Disney Plus episodes where they go, "Ooh, we give you hour-long episodes," when in reality they're 40 minutes, but 15 minutes of credits. No, they're like full 50-minute episodes. So with Andor season 2, Tony Gilroy, who works largely on the Rogue One film, which this is obviously inspired and based off as a prequel, he created Andor, knowing it would probably be 2 seasons. It's very critically acclaimed, but it doesn't seem to be charting on the Nielsen charts. If you don't know what the Nielsen charts are, they're basically a reference of seeing how much coverage and media and how many people are watching stuff on streaming. It's a good gauge to see how successful certain streaming shows are doing, like The Last of Us being a very popular one at the moment, which I'm yet to start. I will start it. But Andor, season 2, it's good so far, but they are releasing it in 3-episode drops every week. That is because they're kind of in these 3-episode arcs, because every 3 episodes, it jumps a year forward in time. So then, by the final 3 episodes of season 2, it will lead directly into Rogue One. So every 3 episodes starts by saying like 5 BBY, 4 BBY, which means Battle Before Yavin, if you don't know. The Battle of Yavin being the most famous fight first ever seen in Star Wars, which was the Trench Run, because Yavin 4 is famously the rebel base which the Luke Skywalker flew from to do the Trench Run. So it's all tying directly into that. And obviously Rogue One is a film set to do with the events directly before that film.
I love Rogue One. Rogue One was the first time that they did a modern Star Wars film since, I'd say, probably since Return of the Jedi, where they seem to capture that essence of A New Hope. And I think that's the good thing about Rogue One. And to be honest, that's the pull for me to watch Andor. Series 1, I probably wasn't as interested in it because but and I know you talk really positively about Series 1. I need to do some catch up here as somebody on a podcast talking about science fiction and nerdy stuff. It is not right that I've not watched it, and I will be doing.
Yeah, and I understand why it's hard to get investment in Andor. It's not doing great. Not a lot of people are watching it, but the people who are enjoying it. And I think that's largely because Star Wars has like a set expectation of how it works. If you watch The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and even the Clone Wars and animated stuff, you have a tone and kind of an expectation of amount of action and what, from a film essay writing point, you would call like passive spectatorship, where as an audience member, I can easily sit back and enjoy it passively. I don't have to think too hard, and I'll just get through it and it'll be fun. I think Andor requires more active spectatorship, by which I mean that you have to be more focused in, pay more attention, and really dial in and pay attention to what's going on. Because unlike other Star Wars media, this Andor is more of a drama. It's more of a political thriller dealing with these different characters trying to navigate laws and a fascist regime that is overthrowing everything. And as you can kind of tell by Tony Gilroy's work as on Andor, he's not a big fan of lightsabers. He's not a big fan of the Force and that kind of Star Wars thing, which is why Rogue One didn't have any of that. It didn't need it. It was a great kamikaze mission following these pilots, or these just rebellious fighters willing to give everything. And Andor is the show exploring how people get to that point to put the mission above themselves, if they want to or not. And it's great. And I understand why Andor season 1 didn't quite grip you. Ferrix was that desert planet where the majority of that show was set on, where we started and ended that season. I really wasn't a big fan of any of the stuff going on in Ferrix. However, there was an arc where they're on a prison, and Andy Serkis stars in that arc as well. And that is an amazing 3 episodes, that prison break part of the season.
Oh, that's really good. And actually, Andor, first series of Andor as well, they filmed some of it in our local town as well. So
they did.
There's a bit of a connection there with Andor.
It was so weird that scene is a promenade nearby where we live. It was so weird seeing that with stormtroopers and robots around, imagining it's an alien planet, because actually they didn't really change anything. And that's what I think makes Andor a really different show to, say, The Mandalorian, because for Mandalorian, and they've used it in countless movies since, like Thor: Love and Thunder and whatever else, they made something called George's Garage, the sound studio, the light studio, where these LED screens surround in a circular place in real time, which tracks with the camera, so they can have these 3D landscapes as they film in real time. We've started to be able to see through that a little bit. You can kind of tell it in shows like Mandalorian. You can see, because all the set is always circular, all the landscapes they're in, and there's always about a few things in a circular pattern to interact with, and then everything's off in the distance. And I go, okay, cool, I know where you are. Andor, all done on location, and it's brilliant. It sets every planet apart so well. It really creates that gritty feel. And Andor season 2 so far, I'm not completely in love with it, but I think there's some amazing performances going on.
Surely those last couple of episodes leading in as well are going to be where the payoff will be.
Yeah, and as well, I love Andy Tudyk's K2SO from Rogue One. I need him to show up sooner. I think that will also help the show as well, because it's just that bit more of a tie to Star Wars. So far, we've not had much droids or anything. It's just following these rogue characters trying to navigate these underground worlds. which is really good and it's really done well. But I think to bring more engagement to the casual Star Wars viewer that's a bit more on the fence about Andor, because it doesn't seem like required viewing. It's about this one obscure character who we know is going to die, and kind of be forgotten, and that's what kind of makes Rogue One really cool. A droid like K2SO, who's a bit fun and he's very Star Wars coded, would really help the show out, I think.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so we've done Star Wars. So we move on. What have you been reading or watching, Jay?
Oh, okay, cool. So at the moment I've been reading quite a lot. I have just picked up the start of Grant Morrison's Batman and Son, which came out quite a while ago now, 2012-ish, which is what introduces Damian Wayne as Robin. And it's all right. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to keep reading it through because Damian as a character is really cool, especially where he is now in the DC universe. Damian is a very cool hero in his own right, and a lot of fun. His relationship with Tim Drake, something that I was surprised by because I'm not a big fan of Tim Drake as Robin. He's not my favorite Robin. So having that rivalry is kind of helping me learn both the characters a bit more. I'm also reading Tom King's current run that's coming out at the moment for Wonder Woman, which, yes, is pretty divisive. So Wonder Woman, it's a great run. The art is gorgeous. And Tom King as a writer, I've always said this about Tom King. He's an amazing writer. He's written some absolutely astounding comics. One Bad Day Riddler, he won an Eisner Award for. He's made The Vision, which is like one of the first Marvel comics, which I absolutely fell in love with.
He's always at the top of the Eisner Awards, isn't he? I mean, you look
exactly.
at like the Eisner Award winners, he's always in the top 10 every year, isn't he?
Yeah. But something I've always thought about Tom King, which I think is also a bit prevalent in his current Wonder Woman run, is he is really strong at making a good initial idea that hooks you in. Like an amazing concept where you go, oh, this is cool. And then it kind of just peters out in a weird way. And I go, oh, okay, you've dragged this along, or you're not too sure where you're going with this. Wonder Woman's cool. It's dealing a lot with kind of American and male toxic masculinity kind of culture. A lot of, I think, the very strong ties with Wonder Woman dealing with the American military is what's making this run a bit divisive. For example, I have a friend who was complaining how awful it is because Wonder Woman literally is crying on the American flag. I have read that issue, and in context, it makes a bit more sense. It's more to do with Rick Flag and that aspect of things. But I'm enjoying it. Like that, I'm trying to read as much other main titles at the moment. How about you? Are you reading anything?
I've not been reading, but I've been listening to a lot. So I've probably got two things to talk about. First one I'm going to mention is Solar. So Solar is a podcast series, which, if I'm honest, I've invested. I think I worked out overall when you watch it, it's about 9 hours worth of podcast. So Solar is basically about a spaceship that's gone to do something to do with the sun and is kind of distributing kind of satellites, and there's been a huge issue, a big solar wind that's basically destroyed half of the ship, and although there should be about 6 astronauts in there, there's only 2 of them left, and there's a computer system that's gone completely haywire, and the story is about these 2 characters finding out by listening to recordings from the kind of mission, which is spanned over about 450 days. So quite it goes through what's happened and some of what resulted in kind of the catastrophic event where most of them died. And you know what? The sound design of it is absolutely amazing. It is actually quite a bit of an investment of time. If you do a lot of long journeys on a regular basis, I definitely recommend it. But it's quite a lot. The voice actors, I think, are really good. Some famous people in there. So Alan Cummings,
Oh yeah.
Helen Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to look for some of the other people who are in it because there's also, you will know some of these people actually. Let me see if I can pull it up. So Stephanie Beatriz
Oh yeah, yeah, I know
Yeah.
Stephanie Beatrice.
Um,
Not personally, but
Somebody called Jonathan Bangs who plays one of the main parts as well. So there's some big name actors in there actually as well. It's really good. I would say, and spoilers maybe a little bit in this, the build up to some of it. Every episode is quite long, so like good 40, probably 50-minute episodes.
oof.
And there's bits of some of those episodes where the last two, like the last 3 or 4 minutes, is like, oh my god, but it doesn't. It was really disappointed with some of the last episode. It didn't really live up to some of the hype and expectation. So you put so much investment into, like, 12 episodes of podcasts, and then there's little 5-minute ones as well. So, but mainly 12 kind of hour-long episodes of podcasts, and the payoff at the end just isn't there. It was like so close to being amazing, but the sound design and the way that they orchestrate it was really good. The idea, I think, was really good. The voice acting, I think, is brilliant in there,
Okay.
but the storyline is like, it's just so close to being brilliant, but it doesn't really just land it at the end, which is a real
Oh,
shame. But yeah, it's really clever the way that they certainly, like, one of the best characters is actually a computer voice that's called Ali. That is it's really clever the way some of it pans out. But I would recommend listening to it from a sound design, audio, and acting perspective. But the last episode just doesn't really land in the way that you want it to. It's like, oh, is that it? So it's a bit of a
mm.
shame. But I would recommend it. So I've been listening to that. The other one which I've been listening to this week is um, DC High Volume Batman. So launched in the middle of April. These are weekly podcasts that are coming out that are, and the difference with these and some of the other podcasts we've had, these are retelling of some of the Batman classic stories, and all of the ones that we're going to talk about that are coming out are on our list of our kind of favorite Batman comics from a previous episode as well. So first four episodes are Batman Year One. So they've done, each episode is in line with a comic book story, and they've now the second ones that have come out after that are the Long Halloween, and it's currently up to episode
Mm.
4. So each episode is an issue, which is really, really clever the way, actually. So you've got a good idea. So they're going to do Batman Year One, they're doing the Long Halloween, and then they're going to do Dark Victory, which, to be honest, there's
The
a run between them.
best.
Now, audio wise, I really like it. It's one of my,
Yeah.
I think it's one of my favorite podcasts I've listened to. It's interesting that you know the story for a start. So there's a sense of, you're listening to a podcast and an audio drama about something that you already know. Whereas with some of the other podcasts that have come out that have also been by Realm, for example. So we've got some of the Batman Unburied. There's 2 series of that. There's a Riddler one that came out.
Yep.
There's the Harley Quinn one as well. All really
Flash,
good. You don't
Midnight
know the
Circus.
story. Yeah, the Flash. Yeah, the Midnight Circus one. So you know that you don't know the stories of those. So it's a bit of a different dynamic. How do you create a story, a podcast series on Batman episodes that you know, and make it still engaging and interesting? And the way that they've converted some of those comic book panels into sound design is so good. The Batman
Oh,
is voice acting, and the voice actors are, to be honest, people who I've never really heard before. I don't think they're kind of mainstream actors, although Jason Spacek plays Bruce Wayne and Batman, who has done a lot of voice acting for kind of Teen Titans and cartoons and
oh, cool.
so animated DC projects in the past. I really like his Batman. It's really good. The person who plays James Gordon is KJ Paulson. He's very much plays that kind of young Batman Year One James Gordon. And at first I wasn't sure whether he just sounded too young, but actually it really grew on me in the way they kind of use the sound design. So and there's some interviews actually in some of the latest podcasts. There's an interview with Jason Spacek, and he talks really clearly about, he clearly loves the comics. He clearly read every panel as he was doing his voiceover, thinking, how do I show Batman through sound design in the way that it kind of comes through on the panels and stuff like that. I would highly recommend this podcast.
Okay, cool. Because I was a bit on the fence. You've been talking to me about this, or you've been messaging me to watch it. You even sent me a link, and I kid you not, I played about 30 seconds and went, "Ah, I'll do it later." But you've actually won me over because, yeah, I was thinking, I know Batman Year One. Funny enough, if I remember right, in our episode about our top 10 Batman comics for new readers, Batman Year One was our number one for
Yeah.
both of us. It's my favorite comic of all time, Batman Year One, and I'm aware that I know the story. I know it very well. So you telling me that actually, because the majority of the people who will listen to this are people who will have read the comic, so it's made for them, that makes me more inclined to give it a listen as well. You just sound really enthusiastic about the sound design. I love cool sound design. I mean, it's one of the number one things that I always pick up on when I watch films. I think most famously, we're talking about Star Wars before, that's why it's in my head, but the mine that drops out of Boba Fett's ship, the silence and the like is one of the coolest sounds that I ever heard as a kid on TV and stuff. And sound design is such an important thing, especially in an audio drama.
Yeah, it's
Like,
so. But like the bit for me that I thought was like, oh wow, was the bit, in year one, Batman is been out, he's got battered, he's had something where he's not particularly had a mission that's gone very well. He goes home, he's like half dying, and he has the idea to become Batman. How do you do that in sound design? So we know the panels. You've got, they're juxtaposing him thinking about being Batman with the death of his parents and the really iconic kind of imagery of the artwork with him sat there with his parents. And I remember the panel really well. How do you do that with sound alone? And it's really clever. And then I think the other thing which runs throughout, and obviously I think we're up to about episode 4 that's come out so far of the long Halloween. So I've listened to all of those now, and now I'm waiting for the kind of week by week drops on them. But it's the thought you get that kind of, it's the commentary of thought process behind what Batman's thinking. And particularly at the end of Batman Year One, where there's a big kind of, he's forced into a building and he's being chased through it. The sound design of it is just so good. So how many times I've read Year One? Absolutely loads. But it felt different, this podcast, and it was just a different way of addressing the media in a different way. I would recommend listening to it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was
and
really
what's
good.
that called again?
So it's called DC High Volume Batman. I would love it if, they're obviously going to work through Batman Year One, Long Halloween, and Dark Victory. How good would it be if this is something they could do with other characters, high volume, different characters? And I think that might be where they're going to. But there's obviously a lot around creating new content and creating different ones. But actually, we've got so many good stories. Actually, how do we bring them to life? And there's clearly a partnership there with Realm, the production company, and DC. It'd be really exciting if more of this came about. But at first I was thinking, how are they going to bring some of the panels of Year One to life? And I do like the fact it's episode by issue. So you can almost, I almost kind of found myself wanting, and I did go home actually after listening to, part 4 of Batman Year One and just look at the panels and think, how did they do the sound design that really linked so carefully to the source material? It just showed, I mean, podcasting, we're doing a podcast and we obviously like podcasts, but that audio drama is just such a different type of medium for you to connect to.
Yep.
There is nothing better than I love driving to work in a car and listening to some of these kind of audio dramas.
Oh wow, cool. Oh yeah, I'm excited now. I'm gonna listen to it and I'll give you my opinion, because I've always been a bit conflicted with these things, because DC, as we know, have made a lot of animated movies over time that are in varying success, and a lot of them, especially recently, are adaptations of the comic books directly. So they've made Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1 and 2, as well as a bunch of other famous comic book stories. Flashpoint's a very famous one. That was a big one for the animated DC universe, and a large opinion of mine for when these films come out is, it's all right, but just go read the original thing. Like stop encouraging the comic industry to not have new readers by giving people new outs to experience these stories. but I'm definitely willing to give this a try as an audio
There's
drama.
probably
It is
the other way
different.
around as
I
well. You're
mean,
probably going to get a number of people who
a
listen to these
comic
podcasts, and it draws them into the actual source material.
a
Yeah,
comic is the opposite medium. A comic is no sound.
yeah,
It's entirely you and your imagination, and it's pictures. It's pictures in a book with words. And so actually doing an audio drama is the entire inverse. There's no images, and
yeah.
it's just sound. So actually, yeah, I'm definitely going to give
And
that.
there's an episode on there that they've published with Jason Spacek, who plays the Batman character, talking about. I mean, he is clearly passionate. I mean, there is nothing better, isn't it, than when you actually hear some of the actors and others who really care about the character. How many times have we seen films and we've said it's pretty clear that those actors didn't really care, or they've said,
Yeah,
oh, we're not interested in the source material. We've seen it with some of the Marvel films. When
yeah,
people say we don't like the source material, don't bother reading it, it disappoints us, doesn't it? It disappoints the audience, I think, particularly. But there's nothing better than seeing somebody clearly passionate about a character and a story and absolutely going for it. So
yeah.
highly recommend. It'll be interesting to see what you think of it, and that's we'll maybe come back to that in another couple of weeks.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, cool. So should we move things toward Thunderbolts? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm about to go watch this tomorrow. So we're recording this podcast, and the next day, so tomorrow, I will be going to watch it. So no spoilers is what I'm asking for, but get me excited about it.
No spoilers. I'm going to convince you what to go in, what mindset to approach this film with. I did see it. I saw this on opening day. I have posted my non-spoiler review. It's on my Instagram, Jay's Reviews. You can find it linked anywhere connected to Dad Made a Nerd. So I'll start out with reading out a synopsis of Thunderbolts itself. In Thunderbolts, Marvel Studios assembles an unconventional team of anti-heroes: Yelena Belova, Bucky Barnes, Red Guardian, Ghost, Taskmaster, and John Walker. After finding themselves ensnared in a death trap set by Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, these disillusioned cast-offs must embark on a dangerous mission that will force them to confront the darkest corners of their pasts. Will this dysfunctional group tear themselves apart, or find redemption and unite as something much more before it's too late? So that is the synopsis according to Rotten Tomatoes, where currently it has an 88% critic score and a 94% audience score, which is pretty high for an MCU film. That's really good.
How does that rate with other MCU films? Is that kind of that's up there, isn't it?
It's high, yeah. That's high and up there. Very highly rated. I mean, that's a fresh tomato. The most recent MCU film that came out is Captain America 4, which has a Rotten Tomato. It's one of like 6 MCU films that does, so it really didn't do very well. However, unfortunately, Thunderbolts in the box office isn't faring great. It actually opened below 70 million, below Captain America 4, which is a real shame because it's a super strong film and audience reactions are very strong about it. So let me just read you my review, which I wrote for Thunderbolts. And I gave this 4 out of 5 stars as well. So, very positive for me.
People who haven't read your reviews, that is very positive.
Yeah, that's equivalent to like
Jacob
a 9
doesn't
out of
hand
10.
out a 4-star for everything.
No, I don't. I'm very critical.
A 5 stars are very, very hard to get. 4 stars very hard to get as well.
So, due to a powerhouse cast, brilliant writing complemented through strong editing, Thunderbolts Asterisk is my favorite film from the MCU since Endgame. I found its exploration of mental health within this super-powered world created a powerful relatability and impactful emotional beats that connected me more to these misfit characters than any of the OG Avengers. These characters are able to balance their tortured pasts with some of the funniest jokes in the MCU. Although screen time is well utilized, it would have been nice to explore a few other team members as intimately as others. As a movie within a wider universe, Thunderbolts brilliantly works as a film by itself, but still utilizes fun elements and Easter eggs that makes being a fan of this franchise rewarding.
Oh, that is quite positive.
It is. I went into this film. I expected it to be all right. I had a great time. It was really funny, and I found myself like connecting to these characters way more than I thought. this is very much Yelena Belova's movie, and she is a brilliant lead, especially very much contrasted with Valentina, who I didn't expect to be in the movie as much as she was, but she was a great. I don't want. I'm trying not to spoil it here, but she was a great contrast to Yelena throughout the film. A large reason this film's getting a lot of coverage is the post-credit scene, which apparently was only filmed a few months ago. I'm not going to say anything about that. If you're on social media at all, you've probably already had it spoiled for you.
I think I saw something.
It's a real shame. It's Marvel. Like literally, we love Ryan George on YouTube, who makes these pitch meetings, who is hilarious. I just watched the Thunderbolts one that came out yesterday, and it is a shame. He does point out that like a day after the film came out, Marvel and everywhere else were just going, oh, how do we push this film more for this reveal we've got? We'll just post it everywhere and spoil the reveal. So
I think that's what I saw. That's why I was a bit surprised, because I follow all the kind of Marvel kind of official channels, and I was surprised that I thought but it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest, when you watch a film, there's several things you do. You watch a film, you then watch pitch meeting, and then you read the trivia. That's just the way it works, isn't it?
That's what you should do.
So you seem to suggest that this is really fulfilling. I am one of those where, and I did this with Captain America, didn't I? I know I need to watch it. I know I love the Marvel films, but how much is it going to draw me in? I think hearing other people's reactions to Thunderbolts has definitely made me more want to go and watch it. And I did plan to go watch it anyway, but I am going to go tomorrow to watch it. And other people have said, what I've heard other people say as well is this, for the first time, it feels like where you've got some of the kind of MCU where it led up to Endgame, where it felt like it was going somewhere, it kind of brings that kind of feeling back. Instead of lots of individual films that don't have a connection, it felt like it was actually going somewhere. Do you get a sense of that as well?
Yeah, it understands what it's trying to achieve, and it does it really well. I mostly just connected to this film because the characters themselves are great, have great interactions, and all have tortured pasts that work for the story in a really cool way. So the interactions between each character, Wyatt Russell as John Walker, US agent, was brilliant in this film. They all were, and they made me care about these characters. Although as characters in like a Marvel universe, they're not necessarily as interesting. I mean, like 3 of them are just generic super soldiers. But personality-wise and connection-wise, I cared about them more than I ever did any of the main Avengers' relationship to each other. I mean, you had a weird relationship that was never properly explored between Natasha and Bruce. Bruce didn't really have a relationship to many people that I cared about. There was Tony and Cap, but that was about it. The Thunderbolts themselves create a really cool bond, which I want to see more of. And I think that's the thing with this film is it gave me something that I really connected to, with a really strong stance and exploration of mental health and depression over a final big fight sequence. It didn't go that way for the third act. And that makes sense if you've seen the Netflix show Beef. It's made by the same creators of that. And that is an incredible show, which also goes into kind of mental health in kind of a spiraling way. And I just found myself connecting to that part of the film mostly.
Do you think it's writing that they got it right with, or performances, or do you think a combination of the two?
Definitely a combination of the both. Florence Pugh is a powerhouse in this film, absolutely brilliant to watch. And David Harbour as Red Guardian could so easily be this cartoonish character that becomes so graining and annoying with like the lines he's given and the personality he has. But the performance from David Harbour as Red Guardian is just so charismatic that I just love him, and he's hilarious. Ava Starr's Ghost was a character who I wish I got more from. However, visually, having Ghost on the team as someone who can like phase through walls and things was far more like, it added a lot to the team in making them more fun and interesting than just people who punch and shoot. So that was nice. Yeah.
Are there any Easter eggs that I should look out for? Not spoiler ones, but things that I'm going to go, ooh.
Okay. You know what? I will go watch this film again with some of my friends who want to go see it, and I'll probably be more attuned to the Easter eggs. A lot of the stuff I saw, I think, is things you're going to see, so I'm not going to spoil that for you in terms of location and just kind of context. Because also, this film does a really good job of referencing past films, because all these characters come from different Disney Plus shows and films, and so it does quite a good job at not making referencing those required viewing, but instead hinting at them and knowing, oh yeah, this character came from this situation. For example, John Walker was Captain America for a minute in Falcon and Winter Soldier until he publicly brutally murdered a dude with a shield. One of the coolest moments in a Disney Plus show, by the way. Something I never thought Disney would go there and do, and they did it. And these characters are all haunted by those moments in that past, in a really satisfying way in how it's they found its resolution. Also, post-credit scene, big deal, done by the Russo brothers, so it's perfectly connecting into what they're doing for Doomsday. And that's really helped the film a lot in terms of media coverage. A lot of people are talking about it. And also, this is the one thing I'll say, in that post-credit scene, they all went to a very good barber. They had like full blowouts and everything. That was the first thing I noticed in that post-credit scene, is the characters that are in that had new hairdos and they looked on point.
That sounds really good. I'm really excited to watch it. I think in the next episode we're probably going to do a bit of a review of it based on some of it's coming out. So thank you for making me excited about it.
Cool.
Probably kind of sums us up for today's episode. Do you think? Is there anything else you wanted to add?
It's a fun little one. No, I think that's everything. I think this episode was a bit more of a what we're into, comic book rundown kind of chat. So if any of you guys listening have any ideas of what we could call this segment for any future episodes where we're just kind of talking about what we're into, please leave a comment and let us know. You can find us on Dad Made a Nerd Instagram. You can find me on jgrooves2 or Jay's Reviews. They're all linked together. We're on TikTok. I swear I'm making clips. I promise. I'm just very slow on it. It's my one job for this podcast, and I'm clearly falling behind on it. But yeah.
Well, we're doing it. We're doing it because we
want to plug,
it.
Dad?
No, just we're doing it because we enjoy it. So hopefully people find it useful, and it's our way of connecting with each other on something we're both passionate about as well. So
it's a really good excuse to talk about comics without mum going, stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. So good stuff. We'll see you next time. Good stuff.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.